Me time traveling to the Roman era with 1 kilogram of salt from a grocery. It was so much easier to be a billionaire back in the day. Did they know tears had salt in them? I'll just start crying into a bottle. Kinda wanna try this, but go back with spices. Spain and Portugal explaining the legal basis with this treaty. Of course they just made it up. Is that really a surprise? You think there was an actual legal argument for 2 countries to own the entire world? I love how they just did this and the Pope at the time were like, yeah, that seems like a good idea. This is my son. He is pain in butt. I speak Portuguese. He speak Portuguese. I'm good at football. He's good at football. He borders France. I cannot. Talk about a great success, Portugal. And to think Brazil really thought they'd be safe from the French in South America. This man's game took 78 years to load. What kind of graphics processor does this guy have? Time to upgrade your rig, bro. Graphics aren't even that realistic. The US, we get our tanks unstuck using specialized recovery vehicles. Meanwhile, the USSR, log time, it's log time. I mean, that's just smart thinking though. Who needs specialized recovery vehicles? Still gotta be the best way to get your tank unstuck from a swamp. Classical Roman infantry versus late Roman infantry. Yeah, not so pretty anymore, are ya? Why did they have the cutest outfits though? Oh, those horses had something to do with this. POV, you're captured by the Americans. If you speak Japanese, you will end. I just hope we said it with a kawaii uwu voice. We gonna make these POWs wish they went kamikaze. Man, I need to start being a VTuber. You think I could do these same videos with the same subjects as just like a cute anime girl? The forensic pathologist doing Elvis Presley's autopsy, finding 4 months worth of feces in his oversized clogged colon. I was actually just doing research on Elvis like 3 months ago, and of course I did come upon this very same fact. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I'm so uninterested in like the origin story. I wish it exclusively focused on like his downfall and his return in the 70s. Like, that's what's more impressive to me. Anyone can be famous once, but to come back 2 decades later and do it again, now that's impressive. The first British convicts protecting their settlement from Australia's wildlife. That's what this movie was about, right? I meant documentary. I mean, who could fight these wild beasts better than some prisoners? Is it not weird to anyone else that we all in the world just accept that this is what an entire continent has on it? Like, yeah, these things are real and we're just going through everyday life. Like, yeah, whatever. Dog shows get invented in the 1800s, leading to dogs being judged on appearance rather than utility. Meanwhile, dog breeds a century later. They're literally just like a hopping loaf of bread. Well, that's if you're a corgi. Many other breeds did not get so lucky. Jimmy Carter signs the Law of Metric Conversion Act, which is the preferred system of weights and measures for United States trade and commerce. Then there is literally every American, yeah. Things that confuse us just make us angry. This reminds me of the time we Americans thought the 3rd-pound burger was actually smaller than the 1/4 pounder. You guys realize how much easier school would have been if we had the metric system? I had to memorize all these arbitrary numbers for no reason. Napoleon, after taking over Spain, didn't see in the Spanish resistance. Oh frick! This was France's version of Vietnam at the time. Russia gets so much credit for taking down Napoleonic France, but Spain deserves a lot as well. Just caused such a mess back at home. Anatoly, while he's working at a particle accelerator in 1978. Hey, I found a proton beam. I must stick my face in it. Please tell me that didn't happen. He's a Russian particle physicist, and he is known for having a high-energy proton beam pass through his brain. I should have known. He literally didn't even tell anyone what happened at first. He just kept on working, and this Giga Chad is still alive to this day. How is this GIF so perfect? Did they animate this to kind of reference this guy? Pixar accidentally deleting 90% of Toy Story 2. That one animator with backups on her home computer. Your savior is here, which all of Pixar should be bowing down to her. All the employees at Pixar probably would have been proton beamed by Mickey. Plato after winning arguments against his made-up characters. This is how real philosophers do it. Everyone is dumb except for me. 5th century Century-chan, accompanied by Hun-chan, wants to play with you. Germania-chan and her goth sisters with 5th century helmet. And don't forget her Asian friend, kind of. Now, this is an anime I need to see right now. I love the entire cast. Incan wealth exists. Meanwhile, the Spanish colonists. Oh yeah, they're gonna want to know all about this. I think it was more like hola, hola, hola. ¿Qué es esto? I don't even know why I felt the need to do the Spanish part, but I'm actually in shock right now. I need to do this one day. All right. Okay, yeah, let's stop this. It's so much better because she's a Japanese streamer too. Should we be worried? This is actually pretty amazing though. The Soviet Union wasn't the good side. They attacked the No-No Germans only because they attacked them. Meanwhile, the United States just trying to stay out of it. Haha, imagine that, only joining World War II because we were attacked first. Let's just move on. Here's a fact. Non-Western countries cannot be imperialist. Oh, I think you've forgotten a few places. What's funny about this is that this isn't even all of them. This is only enough to fit nicely in the meme. I'll kind of never get tired of these. Me with the time machine. How did you build the pyramids? Guards, kill this fool. Ooh, maybe I'll be mummified. Probably not. That's a fun thought. 19th century Austrian MFer, when French told them they can't have any onion, proceeds to absolutely lose their mind. This is how they went into rage mode. Is this why the Austrians are kind of secretly responsible for both world wars? They always kept this grudge against the French. You like Rome because of their military accomplishments. I like Rome because they wiped their butts with sponges. We are not the same. Not only that, but they got to sit directly across from their homie on the toilet. Hey bruh, pass the sponge. Your Majesty, our capitalist systems are no longer getting finances in markets. 15th and 16th century monarch. It's a simple solution, really. And that was going to be their strategy for the next several centuries. Hilter in 1939 versus Hilter, the same guy in 1945. What's craziest about this picture, though, is this guy looks like the guy that killed Hitler, too. What a coincidence. MFers in 1940 opening their morning paper. Yeah. I wasn't expecting you guys to all come together. I think you're traumatizing Poland and China back here. I actually think Poland's a ghost. They weren't around in 1940. France and Britain fighting over the same lands for the past 700 years. And then randomly just decided to stop one day. That's the strangest part about this. It's like an old tradition. Why not keep fighting amongst each other? Queen consorts in medieval times when they miraculously didn't have a miscarriage and gave birth to a healthy child. Oh yeah, but it happens to be a girl. There were so many things that could go wrong with pregnancy at that time, but they need to have a boy to have a prince and a king one day. It gets worse though if you happen to be married to a king named Henry. Bulgarian warriors returning home at 1014 CE. Big old line of blind dudes with one guy and one eye. You had to lead them home. Still one of the most horrifying things I've learned about in history. The Supreme Council for the direction of the war fails to convince Emperor Hirohito that Japan should refuse to surrender despite multiple nuclear strikes and the Soviet declaration of war. I bet one day we'll end up celebrating the American Independence Day in Japan. I can actually see that happening. 2 nukes and the Soviets go to war. I don't think anyone's gonna be down to keep fighting after that. Time to buy some fireworks though. Merchant ships travel to countries across Europe in a groundbreaking new trading system. Meanwhile, the Black Death popping up. Guten Tag. Weird how convenient those merchant ships were for this plague. Perfect timing. When everyone mocks Italy for their stupidity of the 12 battles and 7 losses, saying it's shameful because the Roman Empire could never do something so incompetent. Meanwhile, the Roman Empire, when they lost around 30 legions worth of men to Hannibal in 6 consecutive defeats. Yeah, the whole history meme community tends to lean towards short-term memory things. They still ended up winning this thing though. Polynesians on their way to settle yet another island in the middle of the nowhere. Well, to be fair, the British also did a lot of that. It seems to just be an obsession with random islands. I guess we're still obsessed with just random islands. Every rich person just wants to buy an island, or people want to get rich and then buy an island. The French bankrupting themselves, going into anarchy and destroying the world order so they could stick it to the Brits in America. Sometimes that's all it really takes. Literally destroyed their entire country, but you know what? It was probably still worth it to them. What a perfect 4th of July meme. That's why it's strange whenever I see Americans participating in French slander. I can't help but think about this. POV, the date is the 6th of August, 1945 in Hiroshima, and you're having an argument with your noisy neighbor. We'll continue this in the afterlife, because I still have something to say about all this. He was forced to read about the fall of the Roman Empire. Oh, poor guy. He's gonna be crushed all day. This is me in the 2nd grade learning about the same subject. When you put in mad effort to help Henry VIII get a divorce and remarry only for him to behead his new wife 3 years later. Dude is so ungrateful. Poor Cromwell. Napoleon, when he returned to France and the soldiers that were sent to capture him, ends up joining him instead. That must have been just like a victory lap when he was like returning back home. No one was gonna stop that guy. People must have been so excited when they saw him again. When you're actually a really tasty fruit, but everyone in 1700s Europe thinks you're poisonous and won't eat you. How did that even happen? It's funny because we like literally put tomatoes on everything nowadays. I don't believe it. I refuse to believe Italy existed before tomatoes. Cats kill snakes and rodents because it's a cat. Meanwhile, ancient Egyptians. That's all you had to say. Pretty sure that actually means you're some sort of god. I'd be a believer. Starter pack for average, inaccurate, medieval Hollywood movie. No color other than grays. Armies have no tactics and just run into each other. Food having little to no flavor. People never bathing for some reason. Dimly lit halls and castles. Finally, the main character who never wears helmets into battle, because that's always a great idea. Does anyone have any suggestions for good medieval Hollywood movies? Do they even exist? Who would win. One of the largest Mayan temples in Belize and over 2,300 years old. Wow, okay, this one looks pretty good. Or some cat boys looking for stone. Oh, this hurts. But it was the perfect stone to use for our roadside project. I knew this was gonna hurt my soul if I looked it up, but I did it anyways. POV, you said sharing is caring in the 1950s. You will now be labeled a communist for the rest of your life. That was actually the original origin of why we started saying sus. The Aztecs, after they brutally murdered 60% of their city as a sacrifice to get barely any rain, but that didn't work. See, that's your problem. You stopped at 60. Why not try 70 or 75? Just keep going. Eventually, we'll figure out the magic number. Me drinking coffee in this city on the 28th of June at 1914, where nothing significant will happen. Proceeds to pull out a pistol. It is actually insane, the chain of events that would follow just from this one day. It's actually a little disturbing if you think about it for too long. And big thanks to my patrons. Isaac, I guess. Australia's Sussiest, Chungus. Aushtin, Powersh, Fazha. ASUSOmen. Fat. My name is Joe Biden. I love being Joe Biden. Drew's Argentinian grandpa. Cowboys 83. Barnsky W. Good istoledrewspetdog. Jakov. Bruney. MarcoHindera. Ortin 5610. Phresh Animations. The Mexican 7 in the Conqueror.